Hello and welcome everybody to the latest edition of Midweek Matters. I'm your host, James Graham, joined as always by Charlie White.
James Graham, it's great to be here. It's great to see your face. Although we've been with each other now for the last 4 or 5 hours, but it's great to see you as always.
Yes, it is. Every time I'm with you, Charlie, I learn something new.
What have you learnt this time then?
We went to a very popular cafe.
Across the road from here. We can say what it is. Who cares? I know you hate naming stuff, but it was the Grounds of Alexandria.
Grounds of Alexandria. You weren't happy with some of the clientele, bit of a touristy vibe.
That's not true.
And then up came the word that's not a phrase that you've coined, but what is it? The TikTokification.
I reckon Grounds of Alexandria is one of those sort of TikTokified places where like it's this cafe in sort of this random area. Yeah, there's a lot of like small businesses around and stuff, but it's packed to the rafters at 11 a.m. on a Wednesday, and it's a fine cafe. Sure, it's fine. But it's nothing special.
No. I mean, it's like, what are you doing? Like, what's everyone doing here?
And
I felt like really like it's not where we have our podcast. It's not really like it's not a community, is it? There's not a.
It's all industrial, basically. There's not many residential properties.
That's what I'm looking for. It's no one's walking up to the ground. Oh, I'll just nip out for some breakfast or lunch or.
Yeah,
brunch.
and everyone was filming their meals and there's animals and stuff. It's just a strange vibe. We'll talk about Vivid then as well. Like, I'm not a Vivid man personally. That's happened at the moment.
No, art doesn't particularly do much for me.
But is Vivid art or is Vivid just lights?
I think it's sort of like a bit of both.
Because I feel like Vivid's poor man's fireworks. And like...
not a fan of fireworks personally.
No.
Never been a fan. Always been... Yeah. My parents probably... bit irresponsible with fireworks and at-home displays that went a little bit wrong.
Growing up in St Helens.
Didn't grow up in St Helens.
Liverpool, same shit, different smell, isn't it?
Not really. Very different. Very different. But you brought up a chain that's come out from the States and all that. And
so Wingstop's open near my house, which is like a new, it's like a wings place in America, but it's like stock standard, just chicken wings. Like, great, I'm sure they're yummy chicken wings. But mate, there's been a line around the block ever since it opened like 3 weeks ago, every single day. And it's that exact person that you think would be there sort of filming the stuff, lining up for hours. Even it was pissing down rain the other day and they were all just standing there getting soaked. And I was thinking, this is just chicken wings. There's probably a chicken wing shop down the road called Fred's Wings or something like that, which will do just as good a job. There's a great chicken wings place actually called Wings and Tins, not far from there. Yeah, great spot.
That's
a fantastic chicken wings.
It is good.
But like, you've got everyone just lining up to get chicken wings.
Up from a chain as well.
From a chain. So it's like fast food chicken. Like, cool.
Can you imagine, like, and I know this school of thought or this, I guess, bit or comment has been made before where if you were to go back to like the early 2000s or the late 90s and like if you took a picture of your food or you filmed your food, you'd be sectioned.
Yeah.
But now it's the thing to, look at this. Like,
commonplace.
I drive me a bit potty, people filming their food. I just want to go and mess it all up.
Yeah. You know who would
say, sorry.
Yeah,
Mr. or Mrs. whoever you are.
Yeah, I've done that to my missus before, and she was filming like this acai bowl, and I went and spewed it round. She didn't take kindly to it. I haven't done it ever since.
You know what? it really shouldn't aggravate anybody.
No.
You know what though? We've had this discussion before, basically about how marketing is so important, and things like that franchise coming in. It's all about hype. It's all about the things in vogue. I'm still on that is what sushi is. So the fact that it's from Japan.
Nothing to do with that.
Okay, hear me out.
Oh, is pasta popular because it's from Italy?
Hear me out. Pasta's a staple.
Pasta.
And like the Italians lay claim to that.
Well, sushi's a staple. This is rice. It's rice wrapped in seaweed with a little bit of protein in it.
Exactly. It's boiled rice, right?
Yeah.
Wrapped in raw fish, with raw fish a lot of the time in between it.
Nah,
and like
that's
this, right. And the fact that it's from Japan, people think it's special because the Japanese, they're so culturally advanced, right? If that, right, let's say Somalia, right, they had this leftover boiled plain white rice. were wrapping uncooked fish in it in some sort of leaf. There's no way the trendy people
Well, if
in
it's
Surrey
yummy, it's
Hills would be
yummy.
that's it though.
If it's yummy, it's
all
yummy.
marketing. It's Japanese.
Nah, sushi's delicious,
It's Japanese. It's cut with. Oh, you don't know. Oh, you got to put the soy sauce and the ginger on it. Do you? Because you know the sandwich that I like to enjoy. I don't need to put soy sauce and ginger on it.
No, but you put mayo in it, don't you? You put salt and pepper on the chicken.
Well, put the soy sauce in then.
Yeah.
The biggest. There's a group of people in Japan that are pissing themselves. They had all this rice. They didn't know what to do with it. They had all this an oversupply of fish. Let's not eat. And they've gone. How far can we push the envelope with this? Can we take the piss and not even cook the fish?
You know the most.
And they've gone. Someone's gone. Should we just do it? Should we just? Yeah. And then should we wrap it in seaweed? Yeah. Let's. These Westerners into thinking that this is some sort of, going to change your life. And then, what the worst thing? I've had this conversation with people and they go, you've clearly not had good sushi. And I just go, oh, you know what, mate? Do one.
You know what I'll say is I don't know who you've had sushi with who acts as if it's this beautiful culinary experience. I treat sushi like I treat a sandwich. I just eat it and get on with my life. I don't know who's gone to you and be like, sushi, the best thing
There
ever.
are some people out there that go on about sushi like it's going to...
You're talking raw fish. Do you know what the most popular sushi is in Australia? Teriyaki chicken.
Yeah, well...
That's the most popular. Yeah. And chicken schnitzel's very popular.
Yeah,
exactly. Do you know what? Do you know what?
Wrapping it in boiled rice, put it on a piece of bread. Stop trying to think but if you think boiled rice tastes of absolute zero, it tastes like
that's
nothing.
why you put the wasabi and the soy sauce, a bit of ginger maybe as well if you're doing it at the sushi train.
Put it on some bread. Stop pretending to be cool and trendy.
You know what? You know what's a really good hungover meal is sushi.
Oh,
because it's like salty and you got some carbs in there as well. You sort of fill yourself up. And sit in a sushi train as well. It's quite a nice, relaxing process as well. Get yourself
I reckon
centered.
hungover watching those things go around would send me over the edge.
Nah, sushi's delicious. Yeah. And I don't think it's a trendy thing. I think if you're saying it's from Japan, that's why it's probably you can say about
it is.
Literally
it's
any
marketing.
food.
It is all marketing. And you maybe make a point about the pasta from Italy and marketing is super important.
I'm speaking of like international food and all that sort of stuff. So the Beer Footy Food's on this weekend. Sunday,
Brilliant
long weekend
segue.
as well.
What a segue, Charlie.
Thanks, mate. Thank you.
Yeah.
Midday, I think gates open. North Sydney Oval. Genuinely, if you're a footy fan, if you're a food fan, if you're a beer fan, if you just like a good time, it's one of the greatest places to go to, isn't it, Jimmy?
It is. I loved my time down at the Beer Footy Food Festival. Obviously, they've gone with an international flavour this time around at North Sydney. The Bears are going to be taking on the Penrith Panthers. Get around it, get after some beers, get after some international cuisine, avoid the sushi stand if you
don't think there is a sushi stand.
There isn't going to be a sushi stand, what a shame. Well, just have some other trendy overseas
there's some great
staple.
Food.
There will be some great food.
And you can get tickets. I think there's very limited tickets left. So if you want to get a ticket, you probably need to get onto it like as soon as you possibly can. Beerfootyfood.com. You just follow the prompts, get a ticket there. June 8th. And it's a long weekend, Jimmy. Because when I saw Sunday, I was thinking, oh no, Sunday. I'll have to go to work the next day. But no. Straight into the public holiday on Monday, relax and get ready for the Eels Dogs Classic.
Yeah, and really, if you're one of those people that need further instruction on how to buy tickets, I mean, it's probably not for you. Like if you can't look up Beer Footy Food Festival and then you've said follow the prompts, click on this button. I mean, you're probably either too young to use the internet or the internet's pass you by. Get a family member, a responsible family member, to just say, can you order me these tickets? I don't really know what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Tickets are like $25 as well. Do you know what? For those people, Jimmy, I've got a solution. We'll put the link in the show notes as well.
Oh.
How about that?
What, and then that goes straight to purchase the ticket. You don't even have to search for it.
No, just bang, hits you there.
Wow, that's
the future.
It's a stroke of genius, that from you, Charlie.
Mate, your week's been good though, apart from that?
I think so.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. It's also been a good week for Manly as they've started negotiations with Tom Trbojevic, Jake Trbojevic. It's looking like Jake's obviously on $1 million a year at the moment, but it looks like he's going to probably have to take a 50% pay cut. I think the initial offer or the expected offer is around $500 to $550,000 a year for Jake. Whereas Tom Trbojevic, that's where it gets a lot more interesting because he's $1 million player. If he hits the open market, the club probably believes in him enough to offer him over $1 million a year. but he doesn't want to ever play against Manly. So if it's not in Manly's best interest to keep Tom Trbojevic, he's decided that he'll go to England.
Yeah, it's always a difficult dilemma, and I know we're going to speak about Adam Reynolds a little bit later on, but the sort of one club player that's devoted their life to the football club coming towards the sort of back end or under serious injury cloud, or maybe not the player that they once were, how you navigate that, because I think both parties would want to stay together. It's just about the price point and what the future actually looks like. So how does Jake fit into that team? And, 500 a year, it's not slim pickings, but he'll bring so much outside the 80 minutes for that football club. Like that's where his value is felt, appreciated and utilised. Tommy, on the other hand, he did at one point say he wanted to take a pay cut to stay when he had those injuries that was shut down by the NRL. They both want to stay, and they both said, look, we could never envisage playing against Manly. We don't want to do that. And then you look at people like Brett Stewart, Watmow, Foran, and probably soon to be Cherry Evans. So it does happen. One of the things I was thinking of is it like playing against Manly if you go to a new franchise team? So obviously Perth, but then now that you go, oh no, because they've got the affiliation with North Sydney. If Jake and Tom were to go to the new franchise team that is Perth, would that be viewed as you're actually going to our biggest rivals in the North Sydney Bears? So that's a big...
Tough one. I know what you mean.
Because
I do know what you mean.
If that's just... Let's just say that team came in as Western Australian Wombats.
Yeah.
Right? They're a new team. There's no natural rivalry. There's no history. It wouldn't be the same as playing against an established rival. Playing for an established rival against Manly when that time comes along. But I think with the affiliation with the Bears, I don't know if that's a possibility for Jake and Tom.
Mm. Well, man, Jake's never going to leave. He said that. So Jake said that. No, but Jake said he's not going to leave. Manly want to keep him. They're going to keep him 500, 550. The odds of him leaving would be 1,000,000 to 1, I reckon, for Jake Trbojevic.
They're the odds, Charlie, but the reality of him leaving could come down to a situation where he wants to keep playing. They don't have the cap room to register him.
Yeah, but they're going to give him 500 grand a year. Yeah. He'll probably be happy with that. I mean, he's not a $1 million player anymore, is he? No. So he'll stay. He'll stay.
You've got to assume that, but there is always the possibility where and look, like I say, what you keep Jake around for, it is more than the 80 minutes.
Yeah.
And because there's more that goes into a football club than what you see in the 80 minutes. But if he's still got a desire to play more minutes, have a bigger responsibility role on the football field, which a lot of players do, it might come to a point where he can't be he's not satisfied with, the new role.
Yeah. And he made that, like, you can imagine how much of a leader he is there for Manly. Like, even recently, there was this really massive Manly fan up in Townsville who Manly went up to Townsville recently, and Manly guys saw him on the sideline going crazy. He was a really young kid. They flew him down, and he got to have a game day experience with Manly where they put him on the sideline. And who did they sit next to on the sideline? Jake Trbojevic. And Jake's the one with him the whole day, taking him around, introducing to players. He got DCE to sign a jersey and give it to the kid. Like, Jake would do so much for that club, around the community especially.
Well, that's the point I'm making. It's more than the 80 minutes that he brings. Tom, on the other hand, he said he may look to go to Super League. Look, that would... there'd be every single club over there would be looking to find out a way to fit him in their marquee player allowance. He'd be a huge signing for any club, but obviously the injury cloud, he just can't seem to shake that off, shake that not just that tag, but that reality, the situation of he's constantly under injury clouds and missing a lot of football.
You got to sort of bank on him. He's probably only going to play 15 games for your season. So what does that make him worth in your eyes then?
It significantly reduces your value. There are lots of things that go into a player's value, what they bring on and off the field, but the ability to play hurt, play injured, not get injured, that does stack up. And obviously with age, that there's a whole body of evidence to suggest that the older you get, the more injury prone you get. One of the biggest predictions or predictors of injury is previous injury. So a club with their, I guess, retention recruitment committee would know this. But if another club were to land Tommy, that would be huge. Again, maybe not for the 80 minutes, but that feel-good factor, news story, influence, ability to draw with the players would be massive.
Do you reckon he's maybe a centre now, given his bodies? Because that's the thing for Manly they got to weigh up is Lehigh Hopewadi looks like an absolute superstar of the future. He needs to play fullback for Manly, you would think. So if Tom Trbojevic then, that's where Manly's captain starts to become more interesting because they can probably only afford to pay him as a centre then and give him around $600,000 a year, maybe something like that. And that might be enough for Tom.
Yeah.
So, and he probably, there was talk about him moving to 5'8" as well when to play alongside Luke Brooks in the halves. So maybe that happens. Obviously, Fogarty's coming now, so maybe that's instead of Luke Brooks down the track. Who knows? But they can't pay him to be a fullback anymore, can they?
And he can't play fullback anymore. And I'm increasingly warming to this idea of Trbojevic in the centres. I think he needs to be on the field, and he certainly helps with Manly's level of performance. But in the sort of that period of sort of 18, 19, 20, where it was like, no, we need Tommy at fullback, no Tommy, no trophy. I think Manly have moved past that now with the introduction of Hopewadi, Kohler as well. They've got other talented players.
Garrick, Saab,
they've
Tommy
moved out of
they've
this.
got great outside backs.
Yeah, they've moved out of the whole we're all in on Tommy. So I think it would be wise to see him move positions because obviously they're a better team with him on the field, wherever that is. So playing in the centres, you wouldn't have to pay him as much. He would know that. And I think it would be a smarter move for whoever's in charge. It'd be difficult to manage because I guess I don't know Tommy that well, but he seems like an incredibly driven individual. But he is a team player as well, and that might just be the card you have to play to be like, Tom, look, this is what's best for the team. Yeah. And it's also going to be actually what's best for you because at the moment where if you play a game at 90%, your 90% isn't the same as a middle forward's 90%. You're taking a lot away. And obviously with Hopewadi, it's a team first mentality is, well, we get Hopper in there.
Yeah.
And you'll still influence his side from the centre position. So I think that would be the best course of action for Manly.
Tom Trbojevic would definitely do that as well. That's why he's saying if it's not in Manly's best interest, I'll go to Super League. I won't even have to. I don't even want to stay in the NRL and play against you guys. Like he would, of course, he'd be comfortable moving to the centres. He's an extremely competitive guy, though, extremely competitive. But the number one thing for him and Jake is Manly, and that's why they've butted heads with DCE over everything that's happened because DCE's putting himself first, not the club first, and that's why the Trbojevic brothers have viewed what he's done negatively.
It wouldn't be outside the realm of possibility to see them do 1-year deals and then maybe go to PNG. That would be probably a smart play from them. And look, to go to the new franchise that is Papua New Guinea that has no, rivalry with the Manly Football Club. I think that would be not just an acceptable position to take from the Manly fans, but those two people themselves to go, look, we never wanted to play against Manly. We didn't ever want it to come to this, but it's different. If you're playing for the new franchise Papua New Guinea team in 2028, very different than, signing for a Cronulla Sharks, a North Sydney Bears affiliated side, a Melbourne, Canberra, whoever insert club here.
There's no rivalry. There's no history there. On the new franchise and all that sort of stuff, obviously now it looks like Mal Meninga has got the Perth Bear jobs. There was like a little bit of talk end of last week that he might be getting cold feet, or there's some haggling over money that needs to be done, and he wants a certain figure, and he also wants to keep doing his Kangaroos job. But I think the commission's basically said, no, you can't do the Kangaroos. You're in for the Perth Bears, and like they're coming to an agreement at some point. It's just money that needs to be sorted out at this stage. But it does mean that the Kangaroos job is available, and there's a few names thrown out. Cam Smith's one of them. Wayne Bennett wants the job, but if Mal can't do it, why could Wayne do it? I think is the commission's thing, because they wanted Mal exclusive on the Perth Bears. They want a coach who's just going to be focused on the Kangaroos. But the favourite now is Brad Fittler for that job.
Well, just on that, I understand why the commission or the power brokers at Perth would want whoever takes over that role to be 100% fully committed. This is your one and only focus, because we need you on deck. Like, basically, business started yesterday.
Yeah.
And, okay, they're only legally allowed to sign players on the 1st of November, but there's plenty of work that can be done before that. And plenty of work will need to be done before that, not just in in recruitment, but in a lot of areas of the game, putting together a timetable, a staff. So many things need to be figured out. So I understand why they would want someone to be fully committed, know other places to be, to-do list, whatever it is. No, like that person doesn't need to be focusing on a Kangaroos game or an England game, whatever it may be. With Wayne Bennett, though, however, that is different because he's done it before. He's done it in the past, where he's had international teams and club sides as well and been successful at them both. He's smart enough to know there's no conflict of interest there. He's not picking somebody because they play for South, or he's not picking somebody because they play for an arch rival. He's too good. He's got a great reputation. I've personally been with him at international level before and cannot speak highly enough of my experience with him when he was in charge of the England team. I think if there's one person that could do it, it's Wayne. Are South Sydney okay with that? Again, Wayne would be more than comfortable in, I think, negotiating that and explaining as to why it's good for everybody.
Yeah, and it's the best time. It's sort of these next 2 years of being a Kangaroos job. Like, what a time to come and you get an Ashes tour,
and then
and then the World Cup. Like, this is when you want the job now, and that's probably what's holding Mal back a little bit. It's like, I've got this point, we do Ashes tour, this, but it's
you can understand why Mal would. He's put a lot of work into getting the Kangaroos back up and running. He would have been involved in so much of the process, the organisation. And then the reality of he can't do it, I imagine it hurts him. Like he was, in 3 or 4 Kangaroo tours, so he knows what it's like as a player. Like, this is a big deal. And he wants, this could be, it had the opportunity to be a real legacy piece for him.
Yeah.
To be like, I got the Kangaroos back up and running, and it's going to be 3 magnificent tests: Wembley, Everton's new stadium, and Headingley as well. So it's something it's a big reality to go, I've got to forego this. And maybe he had visions of being able to do both. Maybe he did. But it's such a huge, whoever gets that role, it's a massive opportunity.
Yeah.
International Rugby League is trending in the right direction. Some big showpiece events coming up, so you can understand why a lot of coaches would want that. And I think the other 2 names, Fittler and Smith, like they would relish that opportunity. That would be brilliant for them.
Fittler was elite as well in that sort of environment. Like, did a great job with New South Wales. Yeah, it sort of didn't end as good, but he's amazing in coaching in that environment. And even he did a really good job at Lebanon at the last World Cup as well. I think it was the last World Cup. No, 2 World Cups ago. Yeah. He was with Lebanon, and they did a fantastic job. It'd be great. The other thing on Perth as well, the CEO, Anthony DeSiglio. So everyone sort of looked at it as a strange appointment when it first happened a couple of weeks ago, because he was the 7 News director. He used to run the West Australian papers, the 7 West side of it. But he did some funny stuff with the news. Like, he had that strange, he added like
horoscopes.
the horoscopes into the news and comedy segments, and it sort of all failed, all that sort of stuff. So he was kind of looked on a bit, not in the greatest light in Australian media, but in the Australian newspaper today. There's been this sort of hit piece on him, and like one of the most powerful businessmen in Perth has come out and said that half the city's key figures hate his guts, and warned that they'd be taught a lesson by bringing him in. So there's people in Perth, big businessmen in Perth, who are coming out hammering the move, and they don't think that he's the right man for it, which is interesting, really.
It is. I mean, yeah, when you think of like CEOs and the power that they hold, I guess that's way out of my wheelhouse with what the impact would be over at Perth. But let make no mistake, we're in a battle there to win over the public, the court of opinion. You know, we spoke jokingly about, you know, marketing perception, about sushi, about the wing chain coming in. Like, marketing is everything. Perception is a big part of it. Yeah, they're going to need to perform on the field, but all that reputational stuff, all that feel-good news factor stuff is going to be so important to win that battle, or, you know, assist in that battle over there at absolute minimum.
I'll read you this quote. So it's from the former Reserve Bank of Australia boss. So the RBA, in terms of finances, they're the ones who determine the interest rate rises, all that sort of stuff. His name's John Poynton, I think is how you say his surname. He's apparently Perth's most connected businessman. He said, the problem about making a prick of yourself, it's hard when you have to come back and face the very same people, and said he's going to be taught a lesson when he walks back into town. And they've reached out, this same article's reached out to 10 leading businesses headquartered in Perth, including Woodside Energy, whose main focus is the Fremantle Dockers, Roy Hill, which is Gina Reinhardt's mining company. And all 10 of those businesses said they were uninterested in backing the Bears, or completely disinterested in even discussing that side of sport. So,
but is that because they don't want to partner with rugby league?
Yeah, it's probably because they're in maybe Seven West Media's pockets a little bit.
Or is it because of that?
Well, one of them,
individual?
Gina Reinhardt's, just they don't back dangerous sport. So, and then
What do you mean by dangerous sport?
so AFL, NRL, they contact sport basically.
Yeah.
They wouldn't participate. And Gina Reinhardt, she funded netball for a while. She funds a lot of the Olympic sports, that sort of stuff.
And that's fine. You're not going to win them all. But I guess are those potential partners or those big hitters pulling back because it's rugby league, or are they pulling back because of that individual? So, this makes this battle over there in WA even more important to get the right people in.
Yeah.
When we talk of coaching staff, when we talk of players, when we talk of the NRL, like I think, you know, things have been said about the NRL not giving any special conditions to this Perth team. I think we might have to. I think the NRL might.
They should even have a little bit more salary cap or something, like just at the start, because you're right. It's a tough battle. It's Seven West Media runs that city. It's
and look, we can have all this stuff going on in the background, but if you win, it solves everything. But if they start to lose, and if crowd numbers and engagement is down, you know, you can anticipate. But if we let the football do the talking and they get results and they're competitive, then, you know, you have no option but to talk this team off.
Yeah. And the other thing as well, mate, plays into that bad news Bears narrative as well. Like, everyone's writing us off. You go and get some of the brands that maybe haven't been able to get that spot in the AFL, because, you know, they only can have one sponsor in a certain field. So then you go to their rival there, and you can build, like, I'm sure revenue-wise they'll be fine, because there's not just 10 businesses in Perth.
Of course,
there's so much money in Perth. Perth's our richest state when it comes to resources and energy and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think, again, this is all part of the media wars that will happen between the two sporting codes and the two, or the handful of powerful networks in Australia.
The Broncos, Jimmy, they have had a tough week, a tough season so far, tough last 7 weeks, and they've won one in their last 7 games. Terrible. But they're under a lot of pressure this week, especially because they play the Titans, who are sitting last.
Yeah, it's the same story pretty much most weeks this season for the Broncos, minus that round 1 demolition job against the Roosters and the big victory against the Bulldogs. Like, other than that, there's been constant question marks about the Broncos pre-game, during the game, the post-mortem of the game. We're now midweek and we're still talking about every decision that they make. Reece Walsh will put a comment on the social media or puts a video up, and everything that they do, it's the complete under the microscope. The absolute forensics are out for everything they do or they don't do. It's been an interesting week there. Adam Reynolds celebrating his 300th game. Congratulations to Adam Reynolds. Like, that is a magnificent achievement. Interesting looking back to last week. I think he made 37 tackles.
Wow.
Against Manly. That is a lot for a halfback to be making. So he was clearly, that is no accident. That didn't just happen. Like, a middle forward can make maybe 50 or 60, and you look back and you go, geez, how did that happen? It's just flow of possession. You're in the middle, the team's coming through there. You can't really escape. You have no option but to make those tackles. But that is a clear indication that Manly went after him, squeezed a lot of the juice out of him, and maybe that affected his performance. Obviously, Manly, like, a lot of possession. There are pros and cons to having that sort of game plan as well. It does, like, it frees up Ezra Mam. Him and his side should be a lot fresher after witnessing Reynolds do that. But it's an interesting one as well in terms of the week, about the announcement that he has been tabled an offer. Because is that the priority?
You think what Stags and Cobbo and those sorts of players should be?
Well, yeah. Because again, with Reynolds, are they under that much time pressure?
Well, he said he doesn't want to go anywhere but
Exactly.
Brisbane.
So they're not under time pressure. So what like, why? And also like, we're halfway through the season, and he's making the decision, like, now that he wants to play on. Like, part of me thinks, should they not have had this conversation with him 6 months ago before they were looking at bringing Ben Hunt in?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I know with age you'd want to get a bit of, I get that, but I don't know if Reynolds is entering this season going, I'll see how I go.
No, he would have known if he wanted to.
I think he would have had ambition to go, I think I've got 1 or 2 more years. He would, or he certainly would have known, in November, he would have known if this was his last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, he would know, like, that I've got one last roll of the dice, or that's all I'm willing to do. I'm not waiting midway through the season. So there's 2 points to this. The Broncos power brokers probably should have gone to him 6 months ago before they bought up, whenever they actually officially brought Ben Hunt into the football club, and said, mate, we need to know where your, like, educated guess is at. And then that's the decision to sign Ben Hunt or not sign Ben Hunt.
Yep.
Or they just wait now, because a lot can happen in the next, half of a season.
Well, mate, the third thing as well, the other point, is they haven't actually had a game yet where Ben Hunt, Ezra Mam, Reece Walsh and Adam Reynolds have all played together. So do you want to have that for a few weeks and see how that works? Because then if it doesn't work, then you go, well, we can only really keep one of Ben Hunt and Reynolds. And Ben Hunt signed a 2-year deal, so he's here next year. Do we just let Reynolds go?
Well, Charlie, you make a good point. And for all the bashing of the Broncos and their inability to perform, they haven't had their, what you would call their first choice spine on the field at any one time for a number of different reasons. So maybe we just need to wait and see. And if that spine can click and ignite things, and with the front row combination and with the young forwards of Willison and Tiakora and the strike out wide, maybe they can, quieten everybody down and say, look, this is all we were waiting for. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. But in terms of the Reynolds coming in, and why I don't feel that was a priority, because I think the Stags and Cobbo issue is likely leading to unnecessary distraction. And then if you're either of those two players and your offer hasn't come through, I think you're starting to. In fact, I know for a fact, if I'm a player in that group, if I'm Stags or Cobbo, and I hear publicly that Reynolds has been announced, oh, hey, we're all on the same train here, we all want to win a comp this year, but I'm getting on the phone and I'm ruffling feathers to find out why the hell has my contract not come? Why are they not talking to me? Why has this not been done?
Yeah.
Why is that offer going there? Because that's going to eat into your salary, so that's going to affect their ability to retain or not those two particular individuals.
Yeah. And especially the funny one with Stags is it got announced by all the Broncos, the Brisbane journos broke it and said it was a done deal with Stags. So it's weird they haven't actually announced that one yet officially.
Well, it's not been lodged, has it?
Yeah. So that just maybe goes to show how tight their cap is and how they're trying to shuffle things around. That they got a deal done with Stags, probably. And then Cobbo's an interesting one because I did a podcast with Brent Reed on Tuesdays for Triple M NRL Daily. Check it out. But he said that there's not much interest in Cobbo from any clubs.
I find that hard to believe. I think you look at the Dolphins and that they would be...
Dolphins are stacked in the outside backs, though. They got Herbie Farnworth, Bostock's a good winger, Asarko's a good winger, Avarillo's playing really well as well. Like it's not a huge, and they got Hammer at the back. Like so, Cobbo. And initially, all the talk was, Cobbo wants fullback money. If he wants to stay in Southeast Queensland, he's going to get winger money because even at the Titans, they've got four fullbacks already.
Yeah.
Like,
I imagine if there was room at the Titans, they would love to have him there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and if he doesn't want to leave Queensland, obviously he is limited with his options. Or if he doesn't want to leave Southeast Queensland, he's very limited with his options.
The other thing that Sel and Cobbo would be aware of, and it involves Michael Maguire as well, is the Billy Slater the Billy Slater Cobbo feud. There is a side of the story. The people that think that the story isn't true, I don't have any opinion on whether the story is true or not. Daniel Wise is a great journalist, so I'm sure what he wrote was true. But the opposition side thinks that Michael Maguire was the one that leaked the story to the journos about Selwyn Cobbo having that unrest. So that would have obviously got back to Cobbo. If we know about it, Selwyn Cobbo knows about it. So whether that's impacting his performances this year or impacting his relationship with Michael Maguire, and who knows? But it's tough for Cobbo because he might have to just accept that he's going to get paid a winger level salary if he stays in Southeast Queensland. Yeah,
perhaps. Or it might be the realisation that in order to advance his career, he needs to leave that area. And as hard as that may be, I know for me and my upbringing, cultural background, leaving England was difficult. But from his background, I know he's very close to that Cherbourg community. That might be fraught with different levels of stress and anxiety. I understand that.
Funny thing, it's still a couple-hour drive though. From that's what I find. It's like, mate, you can fly to Brisbane, then you can drive to Cherbourg. You're adding an extra 2 hours on your journey, probably.
Yeah, look, Charlie. I don't pretend to understand that each individual's backgrounds and feelings and priorities and how connection to community that you grew up in plays a part in an individual's life, and even just, I guess that safety net of knowing you're a 2 hour drive away. If I need to get home, I'm just 2 hours in a car. I get that. I don't have the same feeling. For me, I'm 24 hours away. So what, from quote unquote my home, my upbringing, where my family are, it's not a big deal for me. But for some people, they need that ability to be able to almost touch it. And I get that. But with professional sport, there's a price to be paid. And maybe that's it. But for me, I've been racking my brain about the Broncos like I have for most of the season. They've only got one real non-Brisbane product within their playing group.
And that's Adam Reynolds.
That's Adam Reynolds.
Right.
And I just wonder if for that team, maybe they need, I've said this before about I don't know if they can recruit their way out of it, but maybe are there too many Brisbane products? Now, I know Penrith, with what they've done, has all been built through their through their pathway system and their academy out there at Penrith. But if you look at Penrith, it's very different to the Brisbane Broncos. It leans into a poorer, in terms of wealth, economic background. They are hard-nosed people out there.
Yeah.
They are well-driven. They will tear apart any spoon-fed individual. They are so hungry.
Very family-orientated.
Family-orientated. A big emphasis on football being a way to a new and better life, and a way to impact that community. They are a group of people that play for that community, that understand that community. A lot of them still live in the Penrith area. So that model works for them. Where, however, in Brisbane, if you look at it, we hear of numerous players playing on the Gold Coast. I don't know if there's and obviously because it's a city, it's very, very different how you feel. Like, I know they've got this groundswell of support and there's so many people that love the Broncos, but it is different. And maybe, just maybe, that model of almost every single player has come through our system. And maybe that sense of, where the
big dogs?
Or we're just, we're Broncos players.
Yeah.
And there's a certain pedestal that puts you on away from the field.
Yeah. So growing up, they're all like the coolest kids because they're all playing for the Broncos, that type of thing.
And again, I'm just playing with this idea about maybe, just maybe, they need some people from outside of the Brisbane pathway system, because that's all they've ever known. Yes, Reece Walsh left and came back. Yes, Ben Hunt left and came back. But this is what they've known. There's nobody else there apart from Adam Reynolds, who I don't think, he's a captain, but I don't think he's that, like, come on, boys, we don't know how good we've got it style of motivator or influencer within the group. So I just wonder if, I look at their roster makeup and think, it's imbalanced in positional wise, but is there a lack of outsiders in there? And I know when you look back at their history, that it's been Queensland dominated team and people that have a big connection to that football club. But when they first began, a lot of them came back.
Yeah,
they left and came back.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I can see where you're coming from.
And just because it worked then doesn't mean it works now.
Yeah. And I see where you're coming from. And maybe an example of like how much they are putting a pedestal is what happened this week with Reece Walsh, where Ezra Mam came out and said that he thought he was getting booed for the Spencer Leniu stuff, not the driving thing. And then Adam Hawes on 2GB, I think it was, went out and basically hammered Ezra Mam for that. And then Reece Walsh jumped to his defense on social media and basically said, like, you haven't played footy before, you would never know what you're talking about. It maybe goes to show a little bit of lack of touch with reality, because Ezra Mam nearly killed a young girl. So maybe you don't want to, when you're just, he's just trying to find his feet and make his way back. He probably is trying to keep a low profile, Ezra Mam. Doesn't need Reece Walsh jumping online and then firing comments like that about something that's really serious, very, very serious subject. Like, and Reece Walsh already had the issue with TikTok a week ago. Now, then another thing here, he just probably needs to learn to, stay out of the limelight where he can a little bit and not spark situations like that.
He'd be fully aware that everything he says is going to be a story. Like it is. That's the gravity of the situation. That's the weight that Reece Walsh holds. His comments will be analysed. Look, I think Broncos would probably prefer him, like, from the club point of view of Reece, you've done the wrong thing a bit. But I'd hope that the players are going, tell you what, at least he's firing up for us. Yeah, at least he's standing up for his mate.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that's what they need a little bit of.
Maybe.
Like, you know, almost screw the club, screw everybody that's coming after us. I'm going to stand up what I care about. They're saying we're not connected. They're saying not playing for each other. I'm going to publicly maybe go against the will of the sponsors, the will of the club, because we've got to do the right image thing. I'm going to go and stand up for my mate in Ezra Mam when I know I'm going to get shit canned for this. So I think there's an element there that I like about what Reece Walsh is doing. From a club perspective, no, but from a teammate's perspective, if you're Ezra Mam, you're going, thanks, mate. Thanks for having my back. Now, we can argue whether it's a bit about out of touch, but at least it's forcing that you've got my back, I've got your back.
Yeah, that's a good point. But at the same time as well, Reece Walsh probably just needs to handle situations a little bit better at times, I reckon.
But
He's only 22.
Well,
you know what? I realised how young he was when I saw the video of the boxing thing and all his mates. They look so young, like they look like boys. And that's how old he is, just because he's obviously an athlete. He looks a lot older than he is, but he's a baby, really, isn't he?
Yeah. And I don't mind a bit of fire in an individual that plays rugby league.
But you know the thing is, mate.
Mate, I can't criticise someone for going off the handle or doing stupid stuff. Like, I just can't. I can't bring myself to do it. I know it's wrong, but I'm not going to criticise it.
But it's such an irrelevant thing that's probably been clipped up from radio and put in social media. Like, it's not.
Yeah. But look, back to the Broncos and the issues at hand. Look, that maybe they need to look at future roster management, piecing together, balance. Do they need outsiders in there? Well, Madge is the ultimate outsider. They typically back Queenslanders, he was the New South Wales coach and the biggest club in the NRL, the biggest club in Queensland. The Broncos bring him in, and maybe that was the outsider to quote unquote shake things up. I think looking at Madge, he's under a lot of pressure. I've been in situations where people like Madge, Des Hasler, have been put under pressure, and that delicate situation of more is more. The harder we work, the better we'll go. We'll just work. And then the senior players, myself included, going to Des and saying, look, we need to pull back. You listen for a week, and then they go back into that. With Broncos' recent record, I'd be surprised if that's not already happened. And if they had that down week, like they did when they went on that boat, and then it didn't work, and then you revert back to what has worked in the past, albeit quite some time ago, with a different group of individuals, a different group of people in South Sydney, Madge must just be internally just beyond frustrated. There's clearly an outside influence that is having an effect on the playing group, but maybe, just maybe, the key out of this is Walsh at 1, Mam at 6, Reynolds at 7, Hunt at 9. Maybe.
Maybe it is.
I think that's what Madge would be not hoping for. Hope is a stupid strategy. You don't hope for things, but that would be, I guess, the plan, that this is going to, that is going to be the keys to the promised land.
Yeah, because that round one performance, they looked like it could have been maybe the greatest single round one performance ever. But then that shows that fitness-wise, he had them at such a good spot, and maybe he's already burnt them out. And everyone talks about Michael Maguire, premiership winning coach. I'll tell you what, I reckon most coaches in the NRL could have won a premiership with that South Sydney Rabbitohs roster. And after that season when they won the premiership, they probably should have won multiple premierships, that South Sydney team, when you look at how good it is. After that premiership winning season, there's not been many successful spots for Michael Maguire as an NRL coach. Obviously killed it with the Kiwis, killed it with the Blues. But the Blues we've seen, without Madge, they're fine. The Blues are maybe in an era where they're a lot better than Queensland as well. So it could backfire for Brisbane. They made a huge call bringing him in when he hasn't had an amazing record in clubland the last few seasons that he's been a coach.
I still think in the right environment, with the right team, the right roster, Madge can be a successful coach.
But is Brisbane that right team?
Well,
Glass coffin?
it remains to be seen. It does. before he got the job, I would have said no. I don't think that they're a team in an environment that requires that.
Yeah.
And we're probably seeing it a little bit at the Gold Coast as well. Like, are they a team that need that Des Hasler, Michael Maguire style of applying them training methods? Like, the Gold Coast probably get away with it a little bit because they're not one of the biggest names in town, but I still think Des Hasler can be an amazing football coach. And he'll back himself to turn things around at the Titans. But I just don't know. Sometimes there's a natural fit in styles and ethos and work ethics and values and standards that I think with Madge and that South Sydney team at that particular time, when he came to that football club in 2012, that was a match made. Like, Souths needed that Maguire person coming in with the personnel that they had to hit the ground running.
What year did Sam Burgess go there?
He was like 2010,
Yeah.
I want to say. So he'd had a year. I think he maybe had 2 years in the NRL. Certainly, felt like he could dominate. I think Maguire come in. He had instant success. They probably should have won it in 13. We've spoken to many South players about that. And then the end was coming for Burgess and I can't remember if anyone else was Tia. Tia and Burgess were coming to the end. That was the sort of like the last all-in push, the realization around everybody that they could. This was their chance. The window was about to close, and they got the job done. But maybe with where the Broncos were at, and with the players and the environment that they've got, maybe this marriage doesn't work.
Yeah. I hope they do turn it around, because if they make it to the finals, they've got a team that can contend for the comp, and you want all the contenders there. Just quickly, Jimmy, Origin teams are named Monday, public holiday Monday. So normally you get your Origin team on a Sunday if you're a New South Wales fan. Queensland teams named always on Monday, but both teams will be named after that last game. For New South Wales at the moment, pending injuries and suspension, Reece Robson looks like he might get ruled out for the Cowboys this weekend. So there could be a 14 spot or a hooker spot available. But the main one is who comes in. Is it Utoi Kamanu? For obviously Mitch Barnett, who's done his ACL.
Yeah. That's an interesting one, actually, you mentioned, about if Reece Robson's not fit, do they just go Connor Watson?
Yeah, I don't know. I doubt it. I reckon they keep Connor Watson at 14 and they probably bring in, there's countless options.
There's Appy Coruscant,
there's Mitch Kenny.
Wade Egan, Mitch Kenny.
Yeah. There's a couple more options we're probably not talking about there. You'd think it would be between probably Appy,
Wade Egan, Mitch Kenny.
There's someone else we're forgetting there, isn't there? I can't remember who it is off the top of my head.
There's definitely someone we're missing.
I'll have a look. But anyway, hooker, if Reece Robson is out, you put Nappy in there?
I don't know. Because he plays a different style.
Cook's the other one, but I don't think I think his Origin days probably don't. Blake Brayley's another one.
I just don't know if Appy's style they can, because he's not.
You think Mitch Kenny then?
I think maybe Mitch Kenny. He's gonna work all day. You're not gonna have any issue with that. And just look, personally, like Clubland, Appy, and like who I'm picking to play in terms of who's a better hooker, Appy Coruscant. I don't know if there's. I think he's probably 2 or 3 hooker in the competition. But with his style, and especially the way New South Wales rolled the ruck and played off the deck, that power game, like as a middle forward, you have to change with how Appy plays, because he's more of a jumper from dummy half, like engage the marker, which could be great, but I just think it's too different, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The Mitch Barnett, who comes in for him?
Do you want to give you the options? Most likely Jake Trbojevic, Stefano Utoi Kamanu, Terrell May, and Keon Koloamatangi are the names. And it's expected that Utoi Kamanu has his nose in front, given he was in camp for game 1.
Yeah, I think that's the natural change. I'd love to know how that phone call between Terrell May and Laurie Daly went. That Terrell spoke about that he was going to give him a call post Origin to see what he needs to work on. I think that's a really mature call for Terrell to make, and maybe show that he's maybe just slightly willing to play the game a little bit. I did say previously, I don't know if that may be best for the Tigers. I don't know if him playing a style to make it in the Blues team, because what he's doing at Clubland is so influential, is so important for that Tigers and their opportunities. But the fact that Utoi Kamanu was in the extended squad, it's going to be harsh on Jakey Trbojevic. I mean, there's a big difference between dropping your captain or your captain not being available due to concussion protocols. Yeah, it's that. I'd probably say with an eye on the future, Stefano comes in.
Yeah.
As opposed to Jake. Unfortunately for Jake, I think, he's going to pay the price for that injury, that head injury.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And then Queensland side of things, I mean, it depends how much Billy wants to change, because you guys spoke about it on Monday. Reedy said that DCE's Origin career is over. Ponga had an ankle injury. He wasn't very good in game 1, Kalen Ponga. Do you put Hammer at fullback? Hammer has done a great job at fullback before. If Cherry Evans did and would come in at 14, Harry Grant didn't play very well, so do they want another hooker on the bench? There's heaps of different changes. And then the other obvious ones are like they needed more mongrel in the forward pack. So, Horsburgh, Jai Arrow, what are you doing there, Jimmy?
Yeah, it's firstly, just on the forwards, I don't think Ruben Cotter can play on the edge with as much effectiveness as other back rowers. So is that spot then taken by Jai Arrow? Because he can play edge and play it very well.
Kurt Capewell's an option as well.
I just don't know if he gives enough punch. Okay. Kurt Capewell. I think he's a safe option.
What about Thermal promoting from the starting lineup?
Potentially, but again, like going over, I think Arrow's been there before.
Yeah.
And I think he's got that bit about him that can mix it with, he can, because he's a middle edge style player. And I know Cotter is as well, but I think Arrow's probably more comfortable. It's a lot more riskier, like Arrow, because he can do some wonderful things. But you wouldn't be surprised to see him 10 minutes in the bin. Like you're gonna have to dial him down. But I think maybe him coming in on an edge would be a smart move.
What about Horsburgh? Are you getting him in?
I think Horsburgh comes in for Liera.
Trent Liera, okay.
Yeah, and then maybe Cotter drops to the bench. Maybe they're at the expense of Fermor.
Yeah, well, Fermor only played 17 minutes off the bench, so Cotter's more versatile off the bench.
You'd expect Nanai and Arrow to be able to knock out 80 minutes, and then if you need someone to go on the edge, that's where you put Cotter in there to do a job.
Yeah, because he can go in the middle as well there.
Well, that's where Cotter's role would be, in the middle.
Yeah.
Primarily.
Do they need Reid Marnie on the bench? Is it a bit of extra hooker support for Harry Grant? Or do they need Reid Marnie to start, play the first 20 and Harry Grant come on? Like,
That's a really, really tough one, because then you're really messing with the makeup of your bench, and it's pure 2 dummy halves.
yeah.
It's doable. It's doable. Oh man, like Harry Grant starts for Melbourne. He does so well. I reckon the fact that he was just underdone. Like, yeah, he was underdone. He made some uncharacteristic mistakes in terms of his outside in pressure. It's his last tackle kick.
He was off all night. It was probably one of Harry Grant's worst. Harry Grant would say it was one of the worst games of his career.
I remember he shot out the line. He forced that error. I thought, oh, how good's that? That's brilliant from Harry Grant. But actually, if you look at it, it's the wrong thing to do, because it rewarded him for a bad play. Because you don't shoot from outside in, and he kept doing it, and it just went from bad to worse. I'd be surprised if they make any changes to the spine. I think you put it down to it was a really bad night. There's no scapegoat, and the scapegoat isn't David Cherry Evans. And I think you remain with that 1-6-7-9, and you're 14 as Dearden, and then you change the makeup of some of the forwards on the bench, and that start. Personally, that's what I think.
Yeah, and it will be interesting because Reedy has said that DCE's Origin career is probably done. That's the mail he's got, and he feels really confident on that.
Yeah, well, it would be a huge call.
It would be a huge call. Do you know what it tells me? If they do make that call, Billy Slater sees himself as the Origin coach for Queensland for the next few years. If he doesn't make the call, he's going to go down. He'll go down with a ship with DCE, and then maybe they both leave at the end of this series. Who knows?
Oh, geez, Charlie, you're certainly got your thinking cap on today.
Origin's a bit like that, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you lose a couple of series, you often get moved on as coach, or you decide to move on. And Billy's an incredible coach, obviously.
Yeah,
and
I'm excited for Monday to see what both
teams are. Yeah,
both teams are. But speaking of Monday, what a game it's going to be!
Yeah,
Acor Stadium. I think tickets are on sale for like $10. They are still available, so you can be part of something huge here. I know it's a public holiday. You can watch it on TV. You can soak up the atmosphere through the screen, through the radio. We're calling it for Triple M, but there will be no better place to watch it than live. Even if you're in the gods, it's something special to be a part of. The Bulldogs' power as well. They're playing well. They've built this. I can't encourage the fans enough. Despite it's going to take us longer to get out of P1, Charlie, I can't encourage the fans enough to get down to the game.
I'll give you a reason to go as well. Forget the crowd. Forget how good the game's going to be. It is a danger game for the Bulldogs. I reckon Eels might win that game. But Lockie Galvin's named in jersey number 23. Do you want a little bit of mail?
Go on.
Lockie Galvin's going to play. He'll be playing off the bench.
I think I said that a few weeks ago.
You predicted it. Well done, mate. Bravo. James Graham predicting the future as always. But he's going to play. So if you want to see Lockie Galvin's first ever game in Bulldogs colours, get down there. It's going to be great as well because it's against the club he said no to. It's the Lockie Galvin Cup.
It is don't be calling it the Lockie Galvin Cup.
But it's going to be a great game. Well, let's preview the round because that definitely is match of the round. But the first one is Thursday night, Knights against the Manly Seagulls. Jake Trbojevic is back. You know, a chance for him to maybe say, hey, don't forget about me for Origin. Yeah. But Tom Trbojevic is still out for the Knights. Ponga returns as well from that ankle injury after Origin. Geez, it's a tough game to call this one, but I think Manly will have too much.
Oh, mate, tough game to call. If Manly don't cakewalk it, they've got some issues. But again, Manly are one of those teams we don't quite know what are going to turn up. The Knights have shown glimpses of attacking football, but really they've been beyond poor.
Yep.
Beyond poor. So I think the Knights, the Seagulls get this one.
In a canter.
Quite comfortably, Charlie.
Then Friday night, the early game, Storm against the Cowboys. Obviously, we don't know if Robson's playing or not yet at time of recording. But Harry Grant's back and Xavier Coates is back, who both didn't back up from Origin. The other one for the Cowboys, that game against the Tigers, it was fascinating watching Dearden and Purdue in the halves together. That is a combination that looks like it could be deadly over the next few years.
Yeah, that Purdue is he's player. He looks like a very special individual indeed. The Storm, poor against the Titans. They got away with it. They will be under strict instruction to get this job done before their players depart to Origin again. Cowboys'
position on the ladder is a bit of a myth as well. They're sitting 6, but they're actually 5 wins, 5 losses and a draw. So they've been up and down this year. I mean, as a lot of teams have. I've loved this year for that because even Dogs Eels later on, Dogs are first. Eels are 16th. I actually reckon Parramatta are going to win the game. That's how good the comp is this year. It feels so tight.
How many times do you want to say that you think Para are going to win? You've said it twice. We've not even got to their team yet.
I just feel really confident about that. And then
that Storm game against the Cowboys, I just don't know if the Cowboys can hold them out. They can get points. I just don't know if they can defend Melbourne.
Yeah. Melbourne at home this year have been elite.
Yeah, they just can't defend them. I can't envisage them defending them. I can't see them keeping Melbourne under 30 points.
Yeah, absolutely. The Friday night, then the late game, Jimmy, Dolphins, Dragons. Big one for the Dolphins is Max Plath and Jerry Marshall-King, they're in the extended squad, so they could be huge ins for the Dolphins. Sua's out with that syndesmosis injury, so Luciano Leilua starts for the Dragons.
Yeah, well, for the Dolphins, they just need to pretend that it's one of the best teams in the comp they're playing against, because that's where they turn up, isn't it? They should have enough to beat the Dragons, especially with those 2 inclusions, as you mentioned. They're off a bye after a
first bye of the season for them.
Brilliant win against the Dogs. I think we're starting to get these games now where teams that are in the mixer realise the importance of what the win does. And it's not just the 2 points for you, but it's taking the 2 points off the other team. I can't see a September that features both the Dolphins and the Dragons. So this is a really important game.
Who have you got, the Dolphins?
Dolphins, yeah.
I think the Dolphins will go on a little run to end the year. I reckon they'll make the 8. I really do. I think they got enough star players there.
Yeah, I hope they don't pay the price for that bad start to the season. And was it the floods that caused that? Was it just
getting used to Christian
Wolfie? Yeah. But the Dolphins will get the win for me.
Yeah, because the Dolphins are 10th. Dragons currently sitting 8th. Dragons' record's 5-6. Dolphins is 5-7, so they can get a better record just by beating them, which is great. Then Saturday, there's only 2 games on Saturday because it's the long weekend. The first game's Sharks Warriors, 5:30 kickoff. No Mitch Barnett, but Sione Katoa is back for Cronulla.
Yeah, Sharks at home will be a packed out Shark Park. Warriors on the road again. I think they got away with that against South Sydney. I really do. They should have put that game to bed. Sharks are in a really good position to go for the top 4, but they're going to have to take someone's spot.
Yeah.
And that spot could be the Warriors. I think Canberra are nailed on for top 4. I think the Bulldogs are nailed on for top 4. I think the Storm are just about there. But if the Sharks have got their sights on it, I think this is the team that they can claw down.
Warriors will want to make the top 4 for sure. The Adam Fanua-Blake could be a revenge game against the Warriors, because there was all that talk towards the end that Fanua-Blake was being a bit of a cancer in the locker room. He got suspended, I think, for a game for not responding and not being engaged in team meetings and all that sort of stuff. So there might be a bit of fire in this from the Warriors against him.
Yeah, there could be. No Mitch Barnett is big, though.
But they went toe-to-toe with the Raiders without Mitch Barnett and Fisher Harris a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, they did. But that's a real strength of the Sharks through the middle. I know it's for the Raiders as well. I think the Sharks get the win.
Yeah, I think the Warriors get the win. I think the Sharks are extremely overrated. Saturday night, Jimmy, Broncos, Titans. Reece Walsh is back. Cobber goes to the wing. Dean Mariner then drops out of the team. I thought it was interesting that Carrigan's got the 13 on his back. What does that mean for you? Does that mean much?
Just changes where he receives a kickoff or he stands off the kickoff, really. Look, the efforts of Carrigan at whatever number he wears are going to be the same.
Do you reckon it's going to affect him psychologically? Because he wants to be the 13. He wants to be the lock.
It's funny. The number on your back can affect you, but in terms of the numbers he's going to produce, Carrigan's a special player.
Did you care about 8 or 10? No, you didn't care.
No, but I did like wearing the 13.
Did you?
Yeah. I don't know. It's just psychological. I don't think it really affected me once I was out there, but look, a lot has been made of Hetherington's output in there, but it's a forward pack. It's not about individual numbers. And I've said this before when we reviewed the performance of Charles Nickel-Cluckster versus Latrell Mitchell. People will have different ways to affect the game. Now, I'm not saying Kobe Hetherington and Latrell Mitchell are the same with what they do, with the football, but Hetherington will bring value to that team in a different way. And Carrigan, for me, it will be exactly the same performance. Verrills
is out. He's broken his hand, so he's going to be out for a little bit of time. I actually think the Titans will really have a crack here against the Broncos. They always do. These games are always close.
They're always entertaining.
I'm going to tip the Titans.
For me, Broncos, they just have to win.
I think the Titans win, and they shock the NRL. Sunday Arvo, Raiders, Bunnies.
Well, you know if they do.
Yeah.
There's our...
every show.
That's the week.
Yeah, it is. Well, mate, it's disastrous if they lose that, because they'll go to 5-8. Then the Titans, who are everyone's sort of morals for the spoon, they'll go to 4-8. They'll just be one win ahead of them, same number of losses. So, yeah, it's a huge game for them. Then you look at their form and it's like 1 win and 8.
Yeah.
It just really starts falling off a cliff.
Well, Broncos for me.
Raiders, Bunnies, Jimmy. And do you know what? I love the way Canberra do all the milestone games. So Josh Papali'i, he's going to become the most capped Raider of all time, 319 games for the Green Machine. And they put him in the starting lineup for it as well.
Yeah, incredible contribution from him. Everything that he's done. Queensland could do with a Josh Papali'i from about 2-3 years ago, where he was just dominating through the middle, or even further back than that. Congratulations to Big Papa. I think Raiders get this victory. I'm going to put it out there. I think the Raiders get the minor premiership.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. 10 wins, 3 losses at the moment. The only team without a bye so far.
I think that really helps them, that freshen up towards the back end. Obviously, the difficulty is playing as favourites, but I think with what they've built, that should be enough. I think Raiders now will become minor premiers for 2025.
It's a bit crazy how they've had 0 buys, and I think we've got 6 or 7 teams have had 2 buys.
Yeah, let's not go down that rabbit hole of the draw, Charlie, because it's a joke.
Kalon Matangi as well, huge game for him because it's his chance to sort of try and cement his spot. Or do you think he's no chance?
I don't know if this performance is. Look, he can't have a bad game.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know if he'll come back into the Origin frame.
Fogarty's back for the Raiders as well. Do you tip in the Raiders, did you say?
Yes, I am, yeah.
Sunday Arvo, Tigers Penrith. Heath Mason keeps his 5'8" spot. Latu Fanu's on the bench at 14. Be interesting to see if that changes before kickoff, but it's going to be a tough game for the Tigers, and it's going to be every game's going to be a tough game for the Tigers pretty much moving forward. I've said this like 1,000 times, I think, so apologies for repeating myself. They're only going to be the favourites for 2 more games all year, the Tigers, when they play the Gold Coast Titans. So it's going to be a tough run home for them. And Tigers fans, you're not safe from the spoon just yet.
No, I think they are, Charlie.
You're not safe from the spoon just yet.
Sailed. They're not going to get the spoon. But Penrith, like the effort on Sunday against Para, phenomenal. They'll continue on. And I think maybe this is it where Penrith go on this little bit of a run. I think they'll have a blip when they play the Warriors after Origin 2, but big game for Penrith. They know how to get the job done.
Yep. Then finally, Jimmy, the danger game for the Canterbury Bulldogs, Bankstown Bulldogs.
Jacob Carr's back.
He is.
Galvin, maybe. We'll see.
I'm going to say it. I'm going to 100% guarantee he plays.
Yeah, off the bench, I think. All eyes will be on him and his new haircut.
It's bad, isn't it? It's terrible, that haircut.
I didn't say that. I'm not giving anyone...
It's terrible.
Shit about.
Did
how
you
bad
see
their hair
on?
is.
Did you see on Maddie's show?
Yes, I did. Yeah. Rather amusing. Big game, huge crowd. King's birthday. This game was delivered in the past to these teams, the arch rivals, going back to the 80s. Those wars that they used to have, traditional. It brings out the best and worst in people. I think the fans bring the best of the players and the competitiveness of the game. The Eels in recent weeks have turned a leaf. Zach Lomax competing on every play. Mitch Moses pulling the strings. It's going to be a tough game. The Dogs, obviously, last time out against the Dolphins were poor. They'll be looking to respond and shift this focus off Galvin. Just team effort. That's what's got them where they're at, and that's what will take them forward in the future.
Tipping the Eels.
I know you are. You've only said it 4 times.
If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But if I'm right, I'm right. If I can tell you what, if the Titans win and the Eels win, I think it could be another round of upsets. I think the Cowboys could beat the Storm as well.
Yeah, well, if
me nan.
On that bombshell, that's about it, Charlie. That's all we've got time for here on the Bar Round. Thanks for listening, everybody. We will catch you next week.